Welcome back to BWO Daily, your source for news in sports entertainment and the world of professional wrestling from you boys at Busted Wide Open. My name is Nick Howell.
And I am Sir Ian Dangerous. And Apollo Crews was giving an interview when he said something very interesting. And he was very excited about it. I'm not going to lie, Nick, I'm a little bit excited about it as well. He was asked about a new Nation of Domination stable and what that would entail. He said specifically it would have to be babyface. And I think that kind of goes without saying. We actually had that asked in our mailbag show on our regular show. If you want to check that out, check out podcast apps everywhere, Busted Wide Open, or you can check it out right here on YouTube. We did answer this question recently about what they'd have to do for a new Nation of Domination stable. Apollo Crews, you're hearing from the horse's mouth. He's backing us up. They would have to be babyface. He was being interviewed by Andreas Hale for Sporting News, and he said it couldn't be a heel stable because of the current climate, current racial tensions, etc. He said, no way. I feel like everyone would love to see something like that today, and I would have to be a part of it. I wouldn't want to be on the outside looking in at that faction. I saw everyone talking about it, and it would be dope. That's what so many people want to see. Not only myself, but I know a few guys backstage would want to be in it. Thinking about those possibilities is really cool, but it would have to be a babyface stable today. This has been tweeted out by, like, WrestleZone tweeted this out, and other wrestlers have responded, including Ricochet, who tweeted out a little fist emoji. So you know Ricochet is down for this. The question is, who would those other people be? Who would be in it? Apollo answered that. He said, I'd definitely have to put me in there. You've got to have MVP and Bobby Lashley. I'm going to have to put some extra group members, Shelton Benjamin, Ricochet, and Cedric Alexander. That's a solid group right there. Yeah, that's a solid group right there. And they're currently all kind of orbiting each other. They've been involved with each other over the last few weeks in storylines. So it wouldn't take much with MVP kind of pushing Cedric towards signing with him, etc. If they wanted to do a storyline that lasted until SummerSlam or thereafter, they could absolutely pull off this storyline. If you're not aware of what Nation of Domination was, it was a stable back in the day. It was mocking the Black Panthers, militant African-American groups, Louis Farrakhan, Nation of Islam. It was a heel group at the time. They were delivering promos that actually, in some cases, if you go back and listen to them, they should have been babyface promos. Yeah. Farouk was given some promos that were straight up about how African Americans didn't get any breaks in WWE, the system was rigged, and all of that, and the crowd's booing him. The original Nation of Domination was actually formed in 96 in the USWA, and that kind of migrated to the WWE with some of the original members like Sir Muhammad and Elijah showing up, and PG-13 showing up in the original Nation of Domination before it reformed. Farouk, Ron Simmons, was always in it, and he basically reformed it with the group that we mostly know, including you had D'Lo Brown, Kama Mustafa, or Godfather,
the Godfather,
Mark Henry, and of course at one point The Rock himself was also a member of the Nation of Domination. It's actually kind of how he got famous. He went from being die Rocky die good guy to joining Nation of Domination and becoming The Rock that we all know today. That's what set him on his trajectory. So. Yeah. Kind of a legendary stable in that sense, but you go back and look at it now, and it's pretty. Ooh, it
was almost treated by the WWF universe, I should say, as if it were a foreigner heel faction kind of thing. Yeah. It was very similar in story or in how it was treated, but yeah, that didn't age very well.
It didn't age very well. Neither did the one of the famous segments that came out around it. At one point, Degeneration X was mocking them, and they came out all in blackface. Triple H came out as The Rock. X-Pac came out really in blackface as Mark Henry. Billy Gunn was the Godfather. Road Dogg was D'Lo Brown. Chyna was Farouk. It's one of those segments that you look back on, kind of like Vince saying the N-word, and you just go, oh, man, how did you survive to the modern era? How did you survive?
Wow.
That was the time they were doing this in, and it was a different time and a different company. And it remains to be seen if they do reform the Nation of Domination, if they could do it some sort of justice today. You've got the New Day dropping on their knees and giving the fist, and that being WWE doesn't even pointed out. They're just like, yep, go for it, guys. So you would assume that if you had the right guys working on this in creative, you could actually have a fairly interesting storyline or a cool faction. But I think Apollo's onto something when he says they'd have to be babyface.
It would almost feel like it needed to be, like, for right now, MVP and Bobby Lashley feel very heelish, very Heyman-Lesnar-ish, right?
Yes.
How do you flip that? That's the interesting part, because he's going around recruiting. Do you somehow... that's what I'm concerned about. I agree with Apollo, what he's saying, but how do you execute that is the important part. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, well, one wonders. I mean, that's the thing is, could MVP go get Cedric and Ricochet and have them all turn the faction face? I don't know. MVP is backstage saying he wants to have one of these kinds of factions. He says it's something he's been discussing. Let's see how far things go. MVP was quoted as saying, let's just say there's method to my madness. I think everyone will be pleasantly surprised if I can take this. Just watch me work. I'll leave it at that. Watch me work. MVP has been the MVP of WWE the last couple of months. He's getting people over. He's getting people on TV. He's doing fun, interesting segments. Could he somehow wrangle a Nation of Domination stable that turns face? Well, one thing I was thinking is, I looked at Bobby Lashley, right? You mentioned Lashley. He's currently working with MVP. One of the things that he recently said, yesterday was his birthday. We wished him a happy birthday. But he said, for my birthday, I only want one thing. Brock Lesnar. He wants Brock Lesnar as his birthday present. He actually was on Table Talk with Devon and said that what would be interesting is if he and Brock started off as a tag team, wrecking everybody, and then turning each other because of egos. Another look at this, and this is just tinfoil hat, busted wide open speculation. What if Bobby Lashley went after Brock Lesnar, turning him face and the entire faction he had behind him, and he needed a whole faction to go after Brock Lesnar?
I'm here for it.
Me too. That would be one possible way of getting that to work. But the problem is Paul Heyman's no longer on creative, and Paul Heyman obviously has got Brock wrapped around a leash. He hasn't even been on TV since that all went down. Brock Lesnar's out beyond SummerSlam. That's being reported by Wrestling Observer. We might not see him for a while, so he might not be a factor in this at all. And we also kind of have to worry about Apollo as well. Heyman was a big advocate, pardon the pun, for Apollo Crews. He's one of the reasons why Apollo got the U.S. title, why he got the big push that he did. When asked if he thought that his push was ending now that Heyman was gone, Apollo said, look, I've shown that I'm reliable and trustworthy. It doesn't necessarily matter too much, so that helps me in that sense. I don't feel like it's going to work against me. Working with Heyman was fantastic. He was so hands-on with me, and he helped me a lot. He was one of the main reasons for me getting this opportunity. I'm very thankful for everything he's done so far and helped me with. All I could do is look forward to the future, and I'm looking forward to working with Bruce Pritchard as well. We're going to make magic together, and I'm excited for what's to come, where I'm at right now. The company is seeing what I'm capable of these past few months, taking this opportunity and running with it. So fingers crossed he's right. Fingers crossed Bruce Pritchard sees the value in him, in MVP and Lashley, in Cedric and Ricochet, and maybe, as we mentioned, Shelton Benjamin.
Fingers crossed for sure. I think you said something recently, and it was one of those things where we were on our live show. I think it was this past Tuesday.
Yeah,
we were saying that there's no stars in WWE, and I feel like that's the thing. You had Ron Simmons; he was a pretty notable star. All of the other guys were up and coming. Do we think Apollo Crews or even Bobby Lashley is a big enough star, like The Rock and his turn against Nation of Domination ended up becoming? Is there someone big enough in presence and persona that can make this worthwhile?
Well, the thing that you're missing here is that Nation of Domination was itself a mid-card heel stable.
Right.
Farouk, Ron Simmons, first ever African-American champion in WCW, he won nothing in WWE when he came in. He had to start all over again. And The Rock wasn't The Rock. The Rock had yet to become The Rock. So where the original Nation of Domination is about the level that all these guys are at right now.
Okay.
If not a little bit. Nation of Domination might have even started below this.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You could argue. So they were what, Ahmed Johnson in a mid-card title was one of their first major feuds once they reformed. So no, this is actually a great place to create. As we said, like there's not a whole lot of superstars, like big stars, but you got a lot of really fantastic workers, a lot of guys who want to be stars or could be stars. And again, The Rock came out of Nation of Domination. Who could come out of the new version? All things to think about. All things to think about. Let's jump over and talk about Japan. Like Street Fighter. Japan. Asuka was interviewed. She had a media call, and Funaki was running as translator for her. Indeed. And she was asked about a possible NXT Japan. And she answered that she will be there. She will be there. She'll help them, whether it's a valet or in matches. It doesn't matter. She will be there in NXT Japan if they expand to Japan. And very excited about it as well. If you watch the call, she was very excited while Funaki was saying all this. It's of note because WWE has been trying to expand for a while now. We've got NXT UK, and that's kind of it right now. They've wanted to expand to other places. Obviously, everything going on in the world right now with the pandemic has put a screeching halt on that. But they have wanted to expand to Japan. Last year, it was reported that they actually attempted to buy Pro Wrestling Noah, and that fell through. One of the reasons it fell through was speculation that other companies in Japan put pressure on Noah not to sell to WWE because they don't want WWE coming in and screwing up Japanese wrestling. Yeah. They don't want to carve up that territory even more. And a company with the amount that the pocketbooks of WWE could really have some major cooling effects on the Japanese pro wrestling market. If you look at what happened to the indies in the UK, that's what everyone's scared of. They gutted the United Kingdom when they came there and offered these big contracts to the local talent. So people in Japan, the Japanese wrestling industry, are understandably nervous about that prospect. One wonders if having Asuka come over would help to smooth that out a little bit, or if that would just be kind of I wonder how much weight that would hold.
Yeah, does it put a stamp of validation on it? Does it sort of certify it as pure and good? My concern is one of the things we love about New Japan Pro Wrestling is the long-term storytelling. Would it affect indirectly or directly the way that Gato books over in New Japan? You know, the idea being that if you're trying to get the Western audience style, then you're giving them fast food. You're doing quick storylines. You're doing quick belt turnovers. You're doing all these things. Does that go against what New Japan Pro Wrestling is mostly known for in that sense? And would that begin to cannibalize New Japan in a way that would be detrimental?
Are you saying that New Japan is not known for faction members turning on faction members and stealing their double titles, using a bunch of heelish Western moves to do so?
I'm saying that they have done that plenty of times. But normally it goes on over a very long period of time.
It's more extended, and they earn it, yes. Yeah. I hear you. I don't think that New Japan is the company that's mostly scared of WWE. Smaller companies, even companies as big as like Dragon Gate, they tried to buy Noah. You know what I mean? That Noah is not a nothing company, but they're certainly small enough that WWE could easily swallow them up. And that's so Dragon Gate, Fight Club Pro, even women's groups like Stardom. And WWE's had interaction with all of those. You know, they loaned their UK Women's Champion Toni Storm to Stardom for a time. They let Kenta go back and work with Noah. They let Akira Tozawa work Fight Club Pro. Apollo Crews, we just were talking about Apollo Crews. They let him do a video for a Dragon Gate anniversary show. So they have been working with Japanese talent. They've been very kind of open to working with Japanese companies and Japanese talent. Kota Ibushi came over for this Cruiserweight Classic. Meiko Satomura for the Mae Young Classic. So they're definitely trying to make those inroads and trying to make peace. But I think a lot of people in Japan are worried that it's going to look a lot like NXT UK, and WWE is going to cannibalize a lot of the talent over there, which, as you say, is very strong talent. And not even in New Japan, All Japan and everywhere else has an incredible talent pool. It is a bit different style, but who knows how that would translate. Yeah. Asuka is saying she'd go over and help to be part of making that work in Japan for what it's worth.
Yesterday, she said she wanted to have matches with Rhea Ripley. So Is this the same call, the same interview?
Yeah, same. Well, actually, no. This was a follow. So she mentioned that before. They followed up on that question in this interview, and she said, I want to have as many matches with NXT superstars as well. NXT equals Asuka. I will be there, and I want to be there, and I want to face Rhea. So she doubled down on wanting to face Rhea. Today, the news show is basically one big put it in my eye holes. Asuka versus Rhea, the reformed face version of Nation of Domination. That all sounds fantastic to me. But, Nick, that is the news. We got to wish some happy birthdays today. Mike Knox, not referee Rick Knox, but Mike Knox, also known as Nux in TNA, who's part of Aces and Eights. Kind of looks a little bit like you, Nick.
Yeah.
Looks a little bit like you with the big beard and everything.
Yeah.
He turned 42 today. And Mojo Rawley is even more hyped than ever at 34. Happy birthday to Mojo Rawley. Happy birthday to Mike Knox. And that is the news.
Well, thank you, Sir Ian Dangerous, for breaking all of that down. I definitely want all of that in my holes. Happy birthday to Mike Knox and Mojo Rawley. And guys, look, make sure you subscribe to the channel here. Jingle the notification bell so you get notified anytime we put up new videos or episodes of BWO Daily all throughout the week, every week.
Yes.
Plus, get into our Discord community for live chats. We got Extreme Rules happening this weekend. All kinds of good stuff coming up. But make sure you find that and our social media links down in the description below. But my name is Nick Howell. You can find me on Twitter at DataCenterDude.
And I am Sir Ian Dangerous. You can find me on Twitter at Sir Ian Dangerous.
And we will see you guys next time.